Good evening and welcome to another episode of the weekly Armchair Sports Talk with me, Grant Campbell. This is Devil's Advocate. To my right is the one and only Rachel. Rachel, good evening to you.
Good evening.
Underneath me is Wes. Wes, how are you?
Good evening, Grant. Yeah, not too bad, thank you.
Good to have you on as well. And to the right of Wes is the one and only Reese. How you doing, my good man?
I'm all right, thanks. Judging by the long day, I'm not feeling the best, but to be fair, when it's football, I'll always here to talk. So thanks for having me on.
No worries at all. It's great to have you guys on the show. Remember, you can follow the podcast wherever you get your podcast. You can also find us on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, all the usual networks. Remember to follow at Sports Armchair on Twitter. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, the weekly Armchair Sports Talk. Like and share the video and get those notifications. Subscribe. Well, folks, it's certainly been a very interesting week. And, of course, the one and only Cristiano Ronaldo is back at Manchester United. He really hit the ground running, didn't he, with those 2 goals against Newcastle United on Saturday. And, of course, he did score in United's defeat against Young Boys on Tuesday night. We'll talk about the Young Boys game later on in the show. But, Rachel, you were at the game against Newcastle. What was your opinion and your kind of emotions when Alan Keegan was reading out the team sheet and he said, number 7, welcome home, Cristiano Ronaldo?
I'm not afraid to admit that I was really, really emotional. Because being from my age group as well, Cristiano Ronaldo, I grew up with him. He was what made me fall in love with football in the first place, one of the many reasons. So just to see him back, it actually still didn't sink in, even when I was physically looking at him on the pitch, warming up, and just it didn't sink in at all. But you know what? It was absolutely insane. I was very emotional, and it couldn't have gone better. I absolutely loved every minute of it.
Absolutely. Wes, you were also at the game. I mean, what was your thoughts and emotions when that was read out?
Much of the same, really. I think it was kind of a bit of a nostalgia because obviously when Cristiano was at the club, that was kind of the years, my early teens, growing up and looking at Cristiano and idolizing him. And yeah, so the emotion, obviously, it carried from the moment he re-signed with us. The atmosphere was just, absolutely incredible. I don't think we thought the Leeds game was good. The Newcastle game was exceptional. The atmosphere was incredible, and as we've already said, you couldn't have asked for a better start. And as soon as Cristiano's name was read out during the lineup, it was kind of throwing me back to the early days of 03, 04, 05, 06, 07, 08 onwards. So it was such a nice feeling. But yeah, it's great, but there's business to be done now. He's a United player. I'm sure he's looking past the emotion of just coming back now. He's going to be fully focused on the season ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. Reece, you were also keeping an eye on this game, I'm sure. What did you make of Ronaldo starting the game and obviously him hitting the ground running nice and early?
Overall, it's hard to argue with these two. I think they've summed up exceptionally. They were at the game. I was on my couch, so I had the different viewpoint. But it felt great to see him get off the ground running. 2 good goals. Although there's people whinging that he scores tap-ins. As far as I'm concerned, a tap-in's a goal. I mean, one of our most famous goals was a tap-in in '99. So if you're a tap-in hater, bolt. Do it exceptionally, just bolt. I thought he was great to watch at the weekend. I thought just the way he conducted himself, like before the game, after the game, the way he spoke as well, and his interview as well after the game. Like, I think to me that was probably just as good as his 2 goals. His performance was just listening to hear him speak, openly admitting he was nervous, admitting he's here to win. Nothing else stands by him. Like the fact that he doesn't refer to us as Manchester United, he refers to us as Manchester because he knows there's only one real club in Manchester anyway. That to me is more important. It's just how he conducts himself. The goals will come as we all expect. It's his attitude and his way he conducts himself as well as what I'm more proud about, the fact that he's came back and he's conducted himself in such a way that's great to see.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more with that. And Paul Cristiano, LUHG, has just messaged a really good thing. Smash that like button, guys. We've got a really action-packed show to talk about tonight. And he certainly has hit the ground running with that one. I want to wish everybody on everywhere they're watching tonight a warm welcome Guys, really exciting that United had that win against Newcastle. It wasn't a straightforward affair. Ronaldo scored on the stroke of half-time. I thought personally it was a bit of a mistake by Carol Darlow, but Ronaldo there in the right place, the right time to tap home. Once Newcastle got back on level terms, United had to show their character and their worth, and Rachel, they managed to do that with Ronaldo scoring just 7 minutes after that Manquillo equalising goal.
Yeah, it kind of reminds me of the Leeds game as well, because the exact same thing happened. Scored shortly after the break, and then we shut them up pretty quickly after, which was great. The only time I ever heard the Leeds fans was when they scored for about 2 minutes, and then that was it. So,
I never heard them on TV, to be honest. I couldn't hear them.
Yeah, you can only very hear them after they scored the goal. But then, as you're supposed to do, the fans got behind the team, got behind the manager, and cheered everyone on. That's what you don't see on Twitter nowadays. It's just so toxic that people just latch onto every single bit of negativity. But when you're in the ground, and I find it especially therapeutic, because when you're in the ground, you don't have signal. Like Wes, you know what I mean. You can't get any signal in that ground at all, unless you've got some sort of 5G embedded in your body or something. You're not getting a signal there at all. So and when you're traveling home from the game as well, you don't have time to go on Twitter to check what other people are saying. So just being in the ground and just not being on Twitter, especially after a win, it's not as bad, because you want to see what other people are saying, the pictures, the videos of the goals if you hadn't seen them. But after a loss, I think it's a little bit therapeutic that you can just have that conversation with your friends in the pub, or you can have that conversation with someone who you're driving home with, traveling home with, rather than strangers on Twitter who think that Ollie's trash. So, and everyone's entitled to their opinion. I respect people's opinion, but it's when it goes way too far. It's when it goes over the lines, over the top, that people want us to lose just to get the manager out. Your hashtags on Twitter they ain't gonna do nothing. Your bashing on Twitter is not going to do anything. Poor results and poor losses and exits out of cups and not winning trophies, that will be the telling thing. So why don't you stop the bullshit of hashtagging Ollie out on Twitter, hashtagging whatever you want to hashtag on Twitter, and just get behind the team while the manager is still there. I'm not saying that Ollie is perfect, and I think we're all pretty universal on the fact that he has things that he needs to improve on. And you'd be deluded to say that he's perfect, he's the perfect manager. But he's a young manager, he's relatively inexperienced, he is learning on the job. But this season, I think, will be the telling, because we have a squad, we have a proper squad now this season, apart from the little hole in midfield, which I think we'll get onto later. But the most of the squad, the depth is so much better than what it was under the previous managers. So I do think that we should be winning something with this team this year. And if we don't, I think then serious questions need to be asked. But you know who will ask those questions? The owners, the sporting directors, the football directors, whoever makes the decisions. They will be who's making the decisions, not fucking John from Twitter. Just because he's hashtagging Ollie out.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, absolutely.
End of rant.
No, it's not a problem at all. Wes, obviously Ronaldo getting the goal to make it 2-1. And then I thought personally the last 15, 20 minutes of the game, United really stretched the legs, and, Fernandes getting on the score sheet. Lingard, we'll talk about him later on. He got the 4th goal. In the end, it was a pretty convincing win, and United's top of the table at the moment, 4 games in. In terms of the situation, things are not bad, are they?
We're staying top.
No, I think that obviously, as Rachel said, Twitter gets, a lot of negativity on there. A lot of things get echoed, and I think people get these things into their heads that, we're in a crisis or in a bad situation. But the matter of the fact is, we're top of the league after 4 games. We had that result in midweek. That happens. I'm not excusing the performance because it wasn't good enough. And I think, I love the manager, but obviously, as I've said on Twitter as well myself, you can't excuse performance. You can't excuse some decisions, and there needs to be some level of criticism in the right way. But what you can't have is people constantly bashing the team, bashing the manager, picking their their favourite players, defending players who aren't playing. There's a reason why those players aren't playing, by the way.
Yes.
So I think that, going back to the game we referenced earlier at Newcastle, there's a different feel in this team. We go 1-0 down now. I still believe that we're going to score 1, 2, or 3.
Yes.
Whereas under past managers, we go 1 down, it's over. That's it. Mourinho, a prime example. Louis van Gaal, a prime example. Great in the big games, but when we play lower opposition, go 1 down, it's finished. Ollie has got the best team that we have had. He's assembled it, he's built it, he's been backed. And as Rachel said, I do think it's important that he wins something this season because he's been given the resource. But I will back him and this team right till the very end. It's important that he wins something because we have got a world-class team and we have got the potential to be winning major trophies this season. We've got as much chance as everyone else. But yeah, as Rachel said, he's got to win something this season. And I'm not going to bash him and I'm not going to down-talk him. The decision is in the club's hands. The owners are there to make those decisions. The board are there to make those decisions. Not me, not anyone on Twitter. Get behind the team, back the manager. That's all we're asking because it's a very different feel in Old Trafford to what it is on Twitter. And that's not me saying that there's a divide and that people have to go to Old Trafford to be a fan, because some of our best fans in the world live thousands of miles away. In India, they wake up 3-4 o'clock in the morning, to watch Man United play. But what I'm saying is we're not Ollie out. We love him at our club and we want him to succeed. And if you don't want him to succeed, then in my opinion, you need to question yourself as a fan.
I think that's a very important point that you make there. And Reese, I want to come on to this point that the Weekly Armchair Sports Talk has put down on the bottom here. A fully fit Rashford and McTominay coming back to this team is a scary thought, and not for us. I take it means for the opposition that United are up against. Do you agree with that statement? And do you agree that maybe all isn't as bad as people are kind of perceiving on social media? We'll obviously dissect the Young Boys game, but in terms of domestic affairs, we're only 4 games into the season. United are top of the league. We obviously have West Ham at the weekend. All things considered, it's not been too bad.
I think you can take this point as scary for both the opposition and for us. And in a retrospect, because what you can say is it's scary for us because we've always complained about lack of depth in the squad, lack of players in each position. But the fact you can take that as a positive for against the opposition, where we're going to absolutely smash them. But for us, it's a scary thought because it actually questions who's actually going to play each week. Because we always talk about, like, if you're a fantasy football fan and there's people that pick Liverpool or Man City players all the time because they're always doing most in the league. You look at, I know people that call Guardiola a fantasy football nightmare because he never plays the same player more than once. He always switches around. That's what we're going to be like. That unpredictability where we can change things week in, week out, rotate strongly and still be able to win games. So that's actually a good thing for us. It's actually good to have a scary thought for both yourselves and the opposition because we don't know what we're going to play like. Yes. When we have a fully fit McTominay, a fully fit Rashford, they're going to be great for the squad. It gives us that extra dimension going forward and also at the back, but it's how we fit them into the system, how we fit them into the squad that gets the best out of us. Do we have to sacrifice Pogba to on the wing at times to play McTominay? Yes, not a problem, because Pogba's doing great on the left-hand side anyway. Do we sacrifice a midfielder to play Pogba and get Rashford on the wing? Yes, because he's equally competent. And it gives Rashford the sense to come back in and showcase what he can do, because he's not been fully fit for 2 years.
Yes.
So it gives him that extra chance to show, all right, I haven't been fully fit, but I've still been delivering. Now I am fully fit. Let's see what I'm going to show you exactly what I can do. Mm-hmm. And that's what I think is good about having a scary thought both for us and against us, because it's going to be the manager's got to realistically look at his squad and go, what is my best 11? What is my strongest bench as well? And what can I get out of this team? And he does need to showcase it. Yes, he makes mistakes. Who doesn't? He makes mistakes. No. Does he learn from them? At times, yes. At times, you could possibly say he hasn't. But that's as Rachel said, that's learn on the job. That's a learning curve. You've got to learn from your mistakes to become better. If he doesn't learn from his mistakes, I think we can all agree here, both ourselves and the viewers. There's 6 people watching. Smash that like button, by the way. You look at it and you think about, if he doesn't learn from his mistakes, then the board would look at that. The owners would look at and think, okay, he's actually built us a good squad. He's got us in a good position for the long term. Mm-hmm. Maybe we have to make the decision that maybe people won't like, and that's pull the trigger and let him go. But at the moment, this is judgment season. I believe I think it's his judgment season where he's got the squad he wants. Let's see what he can do with it. If he doesn't succeed with it, then yes, the club will look at the decision of moving on. But at the moment, I don't see why not. It's only 1 defeat. Yeah, it's Young Boys. Although, to be fair, it wasn't exactly the best of performances. We'll come to that later on. But I just look at it and I think, right now, don't sack him. If we're not in the Champions League, for example, and we're not in the top 4 at Christmas, I said it to Rachel last night because she hosts a space. I spoke to her last night and I said, if we're not in that sort of position at Christmas, then consider it. Yep. But if he's in the Champions League and he's still within like the top 2, top 4, whatever, at Christmas time, then keep him till the end of the season. Because at least we still have the rest of 6 months if we can see what we can do. But at the moment, shouldn't have to make that decision.
Well, Rich Sports makes a very important point, which I've just posted on the bottom there. It's one game, but we need to make sure this doesn't happen too many times. Reece, you're really in for a hard night tonight here, my friend. You got a lot of comments coming your way, including this one from our good friend Trevor Wade. Reece still wishes Dan James wasn't United. He's gutted as he cannot wear his favourite PJs.
Why am I being punished? This isn't funny. This is not funny.
Yeah, no, I still thought it was good funny. In fact, you're not getting much talk because Keith just put, is Reece wearing his PJs tonight as well?
Right, I'm going to tell it now, and this is the end of it. I do not own a pair. I never own a pair, and that will never happen. End of. Done deal.
There's a really good comment coming in on the feed here. Ronaldo is already proving them wrong. The media have been talking about him like he's Andy Carroll. I thought that was a really interesting point. But it really is interesting because, you know, United going away to Young Boys in the Champions League, and we're going to move on to talk about this now. They did get off to that great start with the opening goal from Ronaldo. We need to talk about that ball from Bruno Fernandes, Rachel. Absolutely exquisite, wasn't it?
Absolutely beautiful. I know you shouldn't really get hung up on assists and stuff, and Ollie's even said it himself that, you know, doesn't really care about assists, but assists of the season, mostly, like, that was absolutely sublime. Absolutely sublime. I loved every minute of it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Wes, a great start to the game. Fantastic goal from Ronaldo. Do you think United should have kicked on and looked for the second goal after that?
Yeah, I think that, you know, we started the game well. I think the goal came at a fairly good time, but ultimately, you know, what killed the game was the sending off. I think that Wan-Bissaka is still quite young, relatively inexperienced compared to other players. I think he sort of got caught up in the moment, lost his awareness, and didn't really think of his surroundings, and got, you know, a bad touch and got sucked into a tackle. And unfortunately, it was a bad tackle, and it was a red card. And
yeah,
had that not have happened, I think we could have probably gone up at half time at least 2-0 because, you know, they weren't bothering us. We were playing relatively okay. The problem was we didn't quite know how to respond to going down to 10 men. And obviously we need to learn from that, and we need to be able to deal with that going forward because, you know, the next time we get in that kind of situation, we can't have a repeat of the mistakes we've already made. But I think this was looking at the game. I think it's, you know, players have got to take accountability too. It's not all down to the manager, albeit the manager did make some questionable decisions in terms of substitutions, given the circumstances of the game. And as I said, you know, it's constructive criticism. That's what we should be looking at with Ollie. We shouldn't be abusing him and battering him at every opportunity. And Lingard as well. You know, I don't blame Jesse. It's disappointing. You know, it's a game that we expect to be winning comfortably. But that happens in football. And that's not that I'm willing to accept it and that, you know, I'm being mediocre. It's just one of those things. We've been there before, but we'll bounce back. Sunday is a very important game. The pressure is probably become more significant now to respond. But I think the boys will do it. I think we'll get a result at West Ham. But yeah, it as I said, you do expect us to be beating Young Boys. It is disappointing, but we move on. It's the first game. We've got 5 more games left. We put it right in the next one, and we go from there. I've got no. We'll still top the group. I believe we'll still top the group. There's no doubt about that. We've got too much quality in the side, and I think, as I said, we'll learn from.
And I think what helps as well is the fact that it was 2-2. It wasn't in the other game between Villarreal and Atalanta, and of course we play Villarreal next at Old Trafford. Reece, interesting quote coming in here from Danielle. I'm just going to put it up here on the chat. The pitch didn't help Wan-Bissaka. Young Boys watered it to death. Would have timed the challenge better on grass. Of course, Young Boys playing on an AstroTurf artificial surface. Is that a fair comment, or do you still think it was a red card? I mean, I personally don't think that Wan-Bissaka can have any complaints, quite frankly.
Bits of both. One thing's for sure: artificial pitches should be banned from European competition. You're supposed to, if you're playing in the Champions League, you can clearly afford grass on your pitches. Like, there's no excuse, unless you're in a country that virtually has no financial wealth. Then I understand it. But Young Boys playing in Switzerland, they actually have got a reasonable amount of money in terms of producing it. They should have grass on their pitch. Like, that's just shocking. It really annoys me that it's artificial pitches in European football when there shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. But even in terms of irrespective of the pitch, though, like Wan-Bissaka, he's still lost his head. He's went and he's mistimed that, and he's got it horribly wrong. And I still think it's not
the first time he's done it as well. He has that naivety in his game sometimes, which frustrates me as a fan, because I think Wan-Bissaka is actually a really tidy player going forward, but he does have that naivety in his game. Sorry, I cut across you there.
No, it's all right. It's a valid point you've made there. Like, he does have that naivety to his game. Like, I think he's still 23, something like that. Wes, you be able to correct me? Like, he's 23, 24, something like that. So he's still young. So it's not a massive deal against him, but it's something he has to cut out of his game. If he wants to be a top right back, he needs to be more aware. He needs to keep that in his head that if he wants to be the right back for Man United for the next decade, he needs to be more aware of things. And I can understand that. It comes with the territory. So we'll see how he bounces back in the next game. But in all respect, though, like, regardless of the pitch, regardless of where his head's gone, the challenge is still being made, and it's still a red, irrespective. I don't like I can't really defend it. Like, he has went over his ankle and he has done it. If it had been another player on one of ours, we would have said the exact same thing. We would have said that's a red.
Yeah.
But to be fair, like, it's not just the red card on what that's happened to Wan-Bissaka. I think there may be a decision from Fastnacht as well on Fred. I think that was a decision that went under the radar. I think it was a yellow. No, I think it was a little bit more. But that's the nature of the game. There's nothing we can really do about it. And Wes was spot on 5 minutes ago. The red card was what pretty much killed the game. Yep. But there were some other decisions that cost us that we will elaborate very shortly.
Well, that's what I'm coming on to next. I mean, obviously, immediately after the red card, Solskjaer brings on Diogo Dalot, and we get to halftime 0-0. 1-0 up. Sorry, fair enough. Going to halftime, a goal up. Second half starts. And I have to ask Rachel this first question. Were you surprised to then see Van de Beek get substituted and Varane come on to effectively play 5 at the back? I thought that was pretty reactive and quite defensive-minded from Ole, don't you think?
It was. I didn't agree with it at the time. I actually thought when he was bringing Varane on, he was going to bring Lindelof off, because they were pinging balls in left, right and centre. And obviously Varane is a lot better in the air, apparently. Although I did share a stat today, which fed my ego a little bit, that Victor Lindelof has got a lot of aerial duels won. So I'll be retweeting that later again. But moving on, Varane is a lot better, a lot more assured. So I thought he would have actually done a straight swap and just kept the 4 at the back. I don't like the back 3/5. I don't like it. It's too defensive, and it doesn't work it works for some teams, of course, but for Manchester United, absolutely not. I didn't agree with it at all. And I thought Van de Beek was actually playing quite well.
So did I. I actually thought he wasn't doing anything flash, but he was doing this
solid doing his job. Well. Yeah. In his position, he was doing his job, which is all you can ask from the player. He wasn't like doing anything absolutely incredible, but he was growing into the game. And for someone who has not had that many chances to prove himself, and he's not had that many minutes in a game, there's no doubt he needed to grow into the game. And I feel like he was growing into the game. I think it's just unfortunate. I think he would have played the 90 minutes had we stayed with 11 men. And I think he would have had a solid game and really stated his case. But it's just unfortunate the way it happened. And I do think it was very reactive from Ollie. I think he panicked, and I think he went right, because they started to, when Aaron Wan-Bissaka got sent off, they started to pile the pressure on, and we did really well to go in at 1-0. But I think he panicked a little bit, and he said, right, we can't have another 45 minutes of them peppering us with shots and crosses and pinging them in left, right and centre. So I feel like he did just, it was very reactive, and I don't think it needed to happen at all. I thought Dalot was obviously the obvious choice. I couldn't disagree with him bringing Dalot on, because it's a straight swap.
Yes.
I did not agree with the Lingard and Ronaldo swap. I think maybe you should have subbed Ronaldo for Greenwood. Surely that's more of a appropriate decision. I know Jesse scored against Newcastle. I know he's been on some good form, but Mason Greenwood has been absolutely electric. And I really think that he could have caused them problems, especially with the game going on, tiring legs. You've got Jesse Lingard's not as fast and is not as quick-minded as what Mason Greenwood is. I feel like Mason could have really caused the young boys problems, especially when their legs started to tire towards the end of the game, and maybe we could have nicked the win. But it didn't happen. You've got to chalk it off. I'm not a manager. I can sit here all I want and kind of say what he should have done and what he shouldn't have done. But at the end of the day, he didn't. And it all comes down to those mistakes and lessons that he needs to start learning. I mean, we did see it last year as well. He was very kind of reactive with his decisions as well, and not making subs. I mean, to be fair, we saw 5 subs on Tuesday, which last year we saw hardly any. So he's getting there. There's some progression there, but maybe the timing of the subs and the correct subs need to be a lot better than what they were on Tuesday.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Wes, obviously, Sancho was sacrificed when Dalot came on. Van de Beek obviously only got 45 minutes. Are you concerned that these guys aren't getting the desired number of minutes in a United shirt? And do you feel then, with the substitutions that Ollie did make, that he made maybe the wrong substitutions in terms of taking people off, or was his hand forced?
I think in a way, sort of, his hand was kind of forced in terms of having to take an attacking player off, because obviously, personally, I would have gone into a 4-4-1 rather than 5 at the back. That's how I would have gone with it.
Mentioned Laurent said that 4-4-1. I agree.
So one of the forwards was going to be sacrificed. I'm not concerned about game time at the moment, because Jadon Sancho will get plenty of game times. I think Donny will get more as well. We've got a big schedule, ahead of us, so I'm not really concerned about that. In terms of the changes, what I will say is I think Ollie probably went home knowing that he was probably wrong.
Agree.
Because he's probably that, he comes across that kind of person, open and honest, and he's probably, being a pro himself, he's probably honest and understands that maybe the decisions that he made weren't the correct decisions. I was very surprised when we went into a back 5. That's, if we were playing the likes of PSG, and you really had to sort of, keep the likes of Mbappe, Neymar, Messi quiet, then you can sort of understand in overloading the defence a little bit more. But the reality is you're playing a team that's very low ranked in the competition, and that you really should be comfortable with, even with 10 men. Young Boys played a very, very high line. Second half, they were so high at the pitch. So I agree in terms of using Greenwoods. We could have stretched them and got on behind. Sometimes I think the best form of defence is attacking. Countering it, they got really. I don't think we've got out of our half.
The worst thing was like after that shot in the 24th minute, we didn't have a single shot for the rest of the game, and that's worrying for any team. But for us, it's worrying.
Well, Danielle, Folks. Danielle's made a really interesting point earlier on. I just want to put this up here in the chat. Not enough people are talking about how well Young Boys stretched United once we went down to 10 men. They played the situation to perfection. Subs were highly questionable, but too many players off the pitch. Reece, I'm going to come to you on this. I mean, there's a lot of people on this chat mentioning about the loss of, obviously, Scott McTominay. Was his lack of presence and the fact that he wasn't there a big reason why United ended up going on to lose this game?
No, not necessarily. I don't think we can just blame it on one player, because we've won games and we've lost games for McTominay before. He's a good player, so I'm not gonna downmark him on that. But I look at the team as well. We still played a team that's capable of winning this game. But I think that comment in a nutshell by Danielle summed it up. Like, Young Boys were by far better than us, like left, right, and centre. They actually did the one thing. Yeah, they did the one thing for 90 minutes that we couldn't do for 20. They strung 3 passes together consecutively. We couldn't find a rhythm. We couldn't find control in midfield. They had it. And I think it's just because the custom of where they play, they're used to it, and it gives them that sense of control. They may take a few more points of the likes of Atlanta and Villarreal at home as well. It looks like they're going to.
Absolutely.
Because of the familiarity where we're not particularly familiar with. So we're going to have to try and adjust to it if we come across another team artificial in the competition, because I still expect us to get through top of the group.
And question to you all, just sorry to cut across you, Reece. Question to you all. I mean, the pot 4 teams throughout the rest of the groups this week, we've seen Sheriff Tiraspol beat Shakhtar Donetsk. We saw Club Brugge take a point off PSG. We saw Milan lead 2-1 against Liverpool. Okay, they didn't win, but, are the pot 4 teams, and this is the nutshell question here, are the pot 4 teams a lot more competitive than we've seen in recent campaigns? There are no easy games in these European competitions.
I would say so. I would say so, because in European football, you turn up for the opponent, and if it's like a bigger opponent than you want to showcase your ability. You want to showcase what you've got. So I look at it and I think there are, in terms of who's in pot 4 as well, it's not just about Sheriff Tiraspol and all the other jazz like Zenit and all that. You've got Wolfsburg, you've got AC Milan as well that are the European pedigree as well. So it's quite balanced out for each pot this year. But pot 4 has some interesting upsets, and the fact that Sheriff beat Shakhtar and kept a clean sheet, fantastic. Fair play to them. The first Moldovan team, they've won 21 league titles in a row since 2000. So fair play to them, and they're only a team that's been around since I was born. But I'll give them credit where credit's due. But I think it's good to see that it's a wide range of teams. But just because you're in, I don't think any team, regardless of the pot you're in, should feel like you don't deserve to be in the Champions League. They're in there. They won their first European game in terms of the group stage. They took the win very well. So respect to them. In terms of us, it doesn't matter who we come up against. Don't underestimate them, but we shouldn't be losing in such a manner. We should be showcasing why we're in the competition as well. But a defeat is going to happen. I mean, we lost to Copenhagen 1-0. We lost to Celtic 1-0. These things happen. It's how we respond.
I mean, guys, as I said earlier on, probably the small positive for United is the fact that the other game in the group did finish a score draw. And, it means that if United do win the next game against Villarreal, Rachel, all hopefully will be forgotten about for a good while, you'd hope.
That's the funny thing about football, is you can go through a really gut-wrenching defeat like we just did, and then we'll go to the weekend, win in good fashion, win the next game, win a few games, and then it's all forgotten about. So that's the funny thing about football. It's a roller coaster. If you can't enjoy the ride, then I think you're in the wrong sport, to be completely honest with you, because no team is going to win every single game. It would be boring.
No. Well, look at PSG. Dropping points against Bruges, as I just mentioned there earlier on. Exactly. They have an embarrassment of riches, and they couldn't even get past a team which contained Jack Hendry at the heart of its defence. It's quite extraordinary, really. I mean, Wes, are you still confident United can come through this group?
Yeah, I think, without sounding too, cocky, I think we'll top the group. I think we'll respond. Going back to the Young Boys game, as you said, I think, in a way, I kind of think that the players, I may be way off, but sometimes players may not want to be there in that moment. They see the pitch, they might think, oh, well, do I really want to, risking for injuries as well, because players can get really hurt on turf, or hybrid pitch, whatever it's called. But I'm confident we'll top the group. There's no disrespect to Atalanta or Villarreal. But, playing on grass, a completely different ball game, and I think that the players will learn from that defeat against Young Boys, and I think Villarreal will come up against a different beast this time when they play us in just under 10 days' time.
Yeah, I mean, Reece, last word to you on this. I mean, obviously, we've got to play Villarreal again. Obviously, looking for revenge after losing that Europa League final. Is it a perfect opportunity for us to play them after losing our opening match?
Oh, hi, absolutely. Because there'll be more pressure on them to actually showcase if it was just they beat us on penalties after 120 minutes, but what can they do inside 90 minutes? Whereas for us, it's all about turning it around. Villarreal are going to be an interesting one, but they're not going to come second in that group. Atlanta will. Atlanta are coming through behind us in the group. Like I'm telling you now, like it'll be Atlanta. But I look at Villarreal.
So that's the team you're worried about, Maurice. That's very interesting to hear that.
98 goals in the league, in a more defensive-minded league, says it all for me. Like, yeah, they've lost some of their best players, but Atlanta, I think, are more of a team to worry about than Villarreal. Villarreal, they've got a decent side, but I think I just look at them and I think, are they going to actually cause us a lot of problems? No, they'll do exactly what they did in the final. They'll just sit back, look to break at us. The Spanish Burnley, like they'll just want to be in that sort of position. Yeah, Spanish Burnley. Like the one time they went direct, they actually scored, but that was from a set piece. Are they going to get us from open play? No.
Good fact that's coming in here from our good friend here at Weekly Armchair Sports Talk. I thought I pressed the show button, but it hasn't come up here. It says United's 4 games against Villarreal have ended 0-0.
That's going to change. That's going to change.
Yeah, I think it will as well. Well,
do
of course.
Do you know what?
Oh, sorry. Go on, Wes.
Sorry, Grant. Do you know what? I think Villarreal have got to be very careful that they don't have a hide-in. Because I think that, as we pointed out then, it's been draws, fair enough. It's how we respond in this game now. Either you'll see a side that's, going through the motions and this, that, or you'll see a side that wants to respond to the last game and also have the final in the mind of what happened and really want to punish Villarreal. So they got to be careful because they could, and it's possible, they could have a hide-in at Old Trafford.
And we all know what happens when Ronaldo plays Spanish opposition. He likes to score goals.
Score most against. Yeah.
Exactly.
Reece, I hope you enjoyed that comment there from Danielle. España, Burnley.
They are the Spanish Burnley, and I think it's an aptly put team where they are compact. They sit really well. They can break at teams with speed, and with it they will score goals. But against us, they didn't score from open play. They scored from a set piece, and I think that's the only way they're going to actually do something. Is from that situation. So Spanish Burnley, we'll see in a few weeks' time. Yeah,
well, we'll certainly see what happens when the Champions League recommences, as we said, in a few days' time. But more current affairs, folks. Our next match is back in the Premier League on Sunday as we travel to East London to take on West Ham at the London Stadium. A game which in recent seasons United have had some issues against. Of course, they have only won 1 of the last 4 meetings against West Ham in London, at the London Stadium or at Upton Park, whatever you want to call it. I think it was at the London Stadium on 4 of those matches. Rachel, how confident are you that United can get back to winning ways after that defeat in the Champions League on Tuesday?
Fairly confident. I think the lads will pick themselves up. Obviously, it helps that they don't have Antonio, which is obviously one of their best players. He's a massive threat, so it's fabulous that he's obviously not going to be involved. But we still need to, stay switched on and just do our thing because we're more than capable of beating them. They've looked okay this season. I thought obviously last season they were great with the addition of Jesse. But I said this last season as well. When we played them, especially in the Cup, and Jesse couldn't play, it was like a completely different team because Jesse just fit in with that team and they all just gelled and they looked like a much stronger team with him in it. So obviously when we played them and he was obviously ineligible to play, it's like taking that little jigsaw piece out and then it doesn't fit. I still think that they're a good side and they pose a massive threat, but this season I'm not as worried as what I would have been last season. Definitely, but I think we'll get the job done. Hopefully.
I mean, West Ham will go into the game off the back of a 2-0 win tonight in the Europa League against Dinamo Zagreb away from home. They were also away like United were this weekend. Does that even itself out going into this game on Sunday, do you feel?
Yeah, I think, to be honest with you, I think it might give us a little bit of an advantage because they played, I think, the strongest team tonight. Their back four, I believe, played the full game. Obviously, Antonio will be ineligible, but he played tonight. The likes of Declan Rice, I think he played about 80 minutes as well. So I think that it's going to be kind of an advantage because you might see a little bit of fatigue creeping into them because it's their first season in Europe. They've got no choice to kind of, play a strong team. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some fatigue in. I am confident. I'm going to the game, so I'm quite excited. It's my first game at the London Stadium, so I'm excited to be going there. But yeah, I'm confident that the boys will respond. They'll pick themselves up, and I think we'll be just a bit too much for West Ham. I think if they're going to pose any threat, it'll be in wide areas. But I think, given the fact that since Varane has come in, we seem to be dealing with, crosses and set pieces a lot better now. So I am confident. I do think we'll get the job done. And I hope that everyone out there praises the right people when praise is due. If we do come away with 3 points, let's be positive and let's stamp out all that negativity nonsense.
Yeah, I mean, we mentioned earlier on about Antonio being suspended, or Reese, as Trevor has put down here, the Spanish Anthony. I mean, how big a loss is Antonio for West Ham, and how much of a relief is that for United against this team?
Well, I was actually just looking at the substitutions as well, in terms of timing. Like, he took Rice, Fornals, and Antonio off in the 83rd minute. He took Lanchini off in the 52nd minute. And it just shows how important that he's getting the substitutions right. But I look at that and West Ham are an interesting side. Like even with Antonio or without Antonio, they have got their fundamentals right. Like when they're attacking, they will go full on, but when they're actually defending, they will get in the right positions. They are compact when they need to be, but at times as well, defending, they're quite expansive. I think that's something that David Moyes is actually added to his game as a manager, which is something you've never really seen, as he's tried to adapt things differently at West Ham, and I think for himself it's like the perfect platform for him. But I think just because the fact is with Antonio not available, I don't know how they're going to come at us. Are they going to aim for just the long ball? Are they going to just try and bully us and settle for a draw, which they might, who knows, and then towards the latter stage of the game just break at us? It's hard to tell really, but I'm just glad we don't have that Antonio factor against us, because with or without whoever's going to be our centre-back partnerships, Antonio's still got a presence about him as well, so we can get around him. It's will he get the service against us? I don't know if he's going to get the service, but for us, it's all about neutralising their midfield.
Yeah.
Do that, and I don't see West Ham causing us any problems. Like, our midfield is much better than theirs, but they get stuck in, and that's what we need to do. Is we need to get stuck into them as well. We need to we have to fight one way or another. So we'll see.
Well, Danielle makes a really interesting point. She's concerned that their midfield will dominate ours. And I think that maybe goes back to your point there, Reese, about players there that just get stuck in and do their jobs. I mean, right. I was having a look at West Ham's recent stats in front of me here. They haven't lost a league game since the 9th of May. I mean, that was at home to Everton, their last league defeat. And, their start to the season has been absolutely fantastic. They won at Newcastle. They absolutely thrashed Leicester, and I was really impressed with them against Leicester in that 4-1 win. But they have drawn their last two, Rachel. I mean, and probably the game against Palace is one game I look at and think that they can be got at. And Palace, who hadn't scored a league goal going into that game, United must be looking at that and thinking, we can get at this defence. Yeah,
I thought that was a really good game, that Palace West Ham game.
Yes, it was
full on, really full on. But I didn't actually know that they hadn't lost a game since May. That's really interesting.
Yep.
Fair play to them. They absolutely smashed it. But I hope we can...
Calvert-Lewin scored the only goal of the game, by the way. A little fact for you.
Oh, that's mad.
So there you go.
Yeah, I'm hoping we're going to break that record. They're going to... I just hope we go out and just be ruthless and be... the Manchester United that we should be. Just don't take no prisoners.
Yeah.
be confident. We need to have that arrogance back. I've said this for months and months and months on this channel. We need to have that arrogance back that we're Manchester United and we're not going to sit and let you come and attack us. Like we need to get that back, and slowly but surely, I think it's starting to get there. But I do think we just need to go out and full on just go for them, because we need to start putting teams to the sword. I hate this whole winning by one goal, having to go a goal down like last season. It was fucking awful. Every time we went down, although I knew that we would come back into it because we obviously got the most points from losing positions last season, which was great, but we shouldn't have to do that. Shouldn't have to go a goal down to get your asses into gear. So I want us to start putting teams to the sword and really just going from minute 1 to minute 90, just hell for leather, just go for it and just close the game out, because I'm sick and tired of winning by one goal. I mean, I know a win is a win and you can't really complain, but does nothing for my anxiety.
Yeah, I don't think this is a United team, though, that are going to have many games this season where they are going to win games 1-0. I mean, I was having a look at the last meeting between the two teams in December of 2020. United fell a goal behind in that game. Souček opened the scoring in the first half, but it was a real second-half performance because Pogba, Greenwood and Rashford got the goals to turn around. I mean, Wes, Rachel says to go from it right from the start, take the game to West Ham. Was that the way you would approach it?
Yeah, I think so. One thing I do wish is that we had McTominay for the weekend. It would be a perfect game for him to get stuck in midfield because, make no mistake about it, West Ham, they're a physical team and they are always looking for that midfield battle. So we really need to get stuck in. It wouldn't surprise me if the manager picks Matic. A bigger structure and obviously cuts the passing lines well. Yes, his legs are going, but obviously it's just that added steel in midfield. So I wouldn't be surprised if he does play on Sunday. But I would go from the very beginning. I think it's an opportunity for the players to take out their frustration in the right way and obviously make the wrong right from Tuesday. And we always look more comfortable when we score early and more relaxed. If we can get a goal in the first 10 minutes, that'll give us confidence, and I think that it could probably be a bit of a mess in our advantage. If we score early, we'll win 2 or 3. The problem is we seem to go through the motions, take a bit to start, and then 0-0 at half time, and then we've got the pressure on in the second half. This is an opportunity to really go out, express yourself, take the game to West Ham, and like Rachel said, have that arrogance. We're Manchester United, and we're not going to allow you to play. We're just going to batter you from minute 1, and that's how it should be, because we're the biggest football club in the world. Make no mistake about that. We need to start acting like it on the pitch.
Yeah. I mean, Reece, we mentioned there about United getting off to a good start, but West Ham will be wanting to do the same as well. And, they've always got that aerial threat at set pieces. Always been a threat against United when we played them the last few times from set pieces. Guys like Souček and Rice are going to have to be marshalled. And guys like Fornals with his delivery could be a real threat. Cresswell too.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all about identifying the strongest areas for them, and if we can do it, neutralise them. I think for them, it's all about the midfield. It's that partnership, Souček and Rice, they work really well.
I love that quote. I had to put this in.
All you need to do is stop Declan Rice, just get a plate of lasagna and then just soak him up. It's fine. It's already sorted. But
Anyway,
yeah, exactly.
That was funny.
It's always entertainment. In terms of this, it's all about identifying their strongest areas. It's definitely that midfield partnership. Benrahma's a strength, Fornals and Cresswell. Those are their strengths. All we've got to do is just neutralise them. And I think the one thing we need to do that we didn't do against Young Boys is play the ball quicker. Play the ball quicker, force Souček and Rice into positions where they have to overcompromise their position, where they'll be forced into mistakes. And once we force the mistakes into them, space is going to open up. Our forward players will take advantage, and then we'll score left, right, and centre. We just need to get the ball quicker. That's one of the reasons we lost against Young Boys as well. We just didn't get the ball moving quicker. And when we did, it wasn't accurate. It wasn't precise. It was all over the place. It was disjointed. But I think against West Ham, we will rectify it.
The pitch had a bit of problem, a
Yeah,
bit to deal with
I
that
agree.
as well, because that's why they had to water it so much. Is because
I agree.
obviously the ball on AstroTurf is it'll ping itself all over the place. It'll go slow. It'll bounce all over the shop.
I hate playing on AstroTurf. I hate it so much.
Do you know what?
Oh, it's so bad on the knees. I mean, my very short footballing career was like that.
I nearly broke my back on AstroTurf before. That's how bad it is.
Reece,
Sorry, Wes.
Sorry,
yes,
yeah, go on. Reece, it's very interesting you said that, because that's entered my head in the last few games in regards to the tempo of our play. And obviously, we are far better when we move the ball quicker. And we
definitely, I agree with you completely.
The Ronaldo second goal against Newcastle. It was bang, 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 bang. Switch of play. We're in.
It gets a fans excited as well, though, when we pass it.
Yeah, but we take too many touches. Sometimes I love Harry Maguire. He's guilty of it sometimes. It's sort of a touch. I'm looking.
Fred is massively guilty.
The ball. Fred, more touches, and just play the ball. As soon as you get it, play it quickly. And when we do, we do it well. We do it really well. But that is a key thing. Obviously, as you said, it's more difficult on AstroTurf. But when on Sunday, we need to move that ball quickly. Suck West Ham in, play around them, triangles, and switch the ball quickly, because that's the way we will win the game. We won't win the battle. Well, I say we won't win the battle in midfield. It will be very difficult. What we can do is suck West Ham in and then punish them by playing the ball quickly. I think that's going to be, the advantage of for us.
I think the advantage for us is how we play with our defensive line as well, because we don't know who's going to play up front for West Ham. Is it going to be Yarmolenko as a false nine? Is it going to be Fornals playing as a defense? As an attacking. Baron, I think Bowen will come in. I think Bowen's going to play in the wing. I think he might push Ben Rama and as a false nine. He might put Fornals back into a number 10 role, which is what he's good at. I'm pretty sure they played Lanchini as well tonight, who came off, so he has the options. But I think depends on who they play up front. We could use the defenders to highlight and actually just attack, begin the plays quickly. As long as we can get the ball moving quickly, we've got a chance, because I think if we're more proactive rather than reactive, West Ham will struggle, because West Ham as a reactive side are very good, but when they're at so much pressure, we've seen it before with teams that pressure them a lot, they can be broken down. You look at the game last year towards the end of the season when they played Man City. They dominated Man City really well, but the second Man City's midfield clicked into gear and they started playing the ball quickly, West Ham couldn't cope. And then they got the ball in the back of the net, and that was it. It was over. But I'm looking forward to seeing who West Ham play at centre-back, because whoever they play at centre-back, we can expose. If we can just expose the right positions, the right areas, play the ball quicker, there's no way we won't lose this. The only way we'll lose if it's like an error or a little bit of complacency, which I doubt is going to realistically happen. But it's just a matter of that is how we could lose the game. But I don't see us losing, but we need to play that ball quicker. We've got to. We can't play it slow, especially against West Ham. We can't afford to do it.
No, Reece makes an interesting point. Tonight, West Ham played Diop and Zuma at central defence against Zagreb, so it'll be interesting to see if those two play at the back against United on Sunday. Very quickly, guys, give us your teams for the game at West Ham. Rachel, I'm going to start with you.
Oh, God, I haven't written it down. I need to count, because every time I do
if you're all in agreement, De Gea starts.
I'll correct you if you go above. I'll correct you if you go above 10.
Thank you.
Way
I
above
appreciate
10.
That. So De Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Shaw, Varane and Maguire. I think it will be Fred and Matic in the midfield. I don't like it, but
I don't either, but okay.
But if McTominay is fit, then 100% McTominay goes in there. But I know he's only returned to full training this week, so I don't really think he will throw him in just yet. Bruno and Pogba, Greenwood and Ronaldo.
Wes, over to you for your team.
Was that right?
Yeah.
Did I get 11?
You're fine.
Glad Reece is getting there, because that wasn't. I was just saying next.
I was keeping her in line.
So for me, it would be. I just quickly wrote mine down here. So I'd go David De Gea. I was actually thinking about this earlier, because I was wondering whether I would bring Bissaka out and put Darlow in.
I've had the same thought as well all day, to be honest.
I've been thinking about it purely on the basis that I think Bissaka hasn't been great so far this season, but I think that considering that Dalot is going to play against Villarreal, I'd probably keep Bissaka at right back. So, and Dalot will probably play in midweek as well. So fresh legs there. It probably makes sense to keep Bissaka in.
I was going to say that's good at the rotation midweek as well, because we play the exact same team anyway, so they'll expect us to go different.
Yeah. So I go to Gea, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Varane, Shaw. I play Matic and Fred. In front, then I'd go Greenwood, Bruno, Pogba, and then Ronaldo up front.
I mean, Ole really likes to play Fred, doesn't he? I mean, I personally wouldn't play him. I would like to see Matic and Van de Beek to see how that combination works. I agreed with what Keane said earlier on. If McTominay is fit, start him. Anyway, Reece, coming to you for yours.
I'm the left field, as I've always defined myself. So I've gone a little bit slightly different. I've gone De Gea in goal, same back four, Wan-Bissaka, Maguire, Varane, Shaw. But I've gone Pogba, McTominay, midfield pivot actually, and I've got Greenwood on the right, Bruno, Sancho, Ronaldo up front.
Yeah, I think I have mostly the same team as you guys have, but I have Dalot in at right back instead of Wan-Bissaka. I think he might start. If he does, then it gives him a chance to at least show what he can do in the league. But if he doesn't start, if he doesn't start Sunday, then he has to at least give him a chance midweek and let him showcase what he can do for at least 90 minutes or however long he plays him on midweek.
To be fair to Dalot, I thought he'd done all right when he come on.
Yes, I agree.
I'm quite a big critic, not slander, but I'm quite a big critic.
Constructive, yeah.
Reece, you're getting a big pickup here from our good friend here who once says they actually agree with your lineup.
There's only one reason why he's agreeing with me. There's only one reason. It's because I didn't say the word Fred.
He also says he's your captain in fantasy. Very quickly, guys, your predictions. What's your scoreline? I'm going to go 2-1 Man United.
3-0 Man United.
Wes?
3-1 United. Still not convinced we can keep a clean sheet, unfortunately, but I think we'll get there.
I forgot to add, I'm going for Pogba for the winner in the game. Reece?
1-0 half-time, 2-0 full-time. Man United, 2-0.
2-0. Very interesting thoughts from the guys as always. We're coming very close to the end, but just one question before we wrap up. Obviously, very interesting news today about Fernandes and Pogba. The contract extensions are a real priority for United. Just very quickly from you all, obviously big opportunity to try and keep these guys at the club. And if that is important, how crucial would it be in terms of helping us get that defensive midfielder long term? Rachel, I'm going to start with you on this.
Sorry, can you repeat that? I zoned out for a minute. I zoned out. I zoned out. And I was like,
I'll let you think. I'll let you think about that while I go to Wes.
It's absolutely massive for forward planning. Bruno deserves the new contract. I mean, I believe his wages are far less than other players within the team that are considered as key first team players. So it's vitally important that these two players play. And I absolutely love Paul Pogba. I'm a massive fan. Paul Pogba on his day is the best midfield player in the world without a doubt, and it is important that he stays at Manchester United. And I think we're in quite a good position because of the climate at the moment. Obviously, with COVID, other teams can't really afford to be splashing out extortionate sums of money. But I also think we have an exciting project. He's got great players around him, and with the likes of signing back Cristiano Ronaldo, you've got even the likes of Edinson Cavani, Marcus Rashford, Jadon Sancho, Rafael Varane. You're not going to get that in any other team in the world. So I think there's more pluses than negatives. I'm confident he'll stay. I think the club will reach an agreement. And as I said, it's so important that we keep these players at Manchester United. And I do think that they will be a massive part of our future. And I think, I do think that trophies will come.
Yeah, Reece Struan Garvey makes an interesting point. New deals for Pogba and Bruno would be great. You in agreement?
Here's the best way to sum up, right? Pogba wanted to go to Madrid. We bought Madrid to Pogba. There you go.
A very short and sweet response. Rachel, back to you.
Yeah, no, keeping those two players at the club, it should be absolutely paramount. Bruno especially, because he's absolutely transformed this club. Pogba, I'm a massive fan. I agree with you, Wes. I absolutely love him. I don't like all the slander he gets, sometimes deservedly so, because some of the performances he dropped have been absolutely shocking, but then so is everyone else in the team. So he shouldn't be above criticism, but he shouldn't also be below it either. Mm-hmm. I think keeping those two together, they've shown in the past, towards the latter end of last season and the beginning of this season, that they have a really good relationship. They seem like good friends. They've got banter, and it's all about squad morale as well. Like the way that Ollie has managed the Pogba situation has been absolutely impeccable, because he was down and out. He was miserable.
He was a foot out the door anyway.
Exactly. But the way that Ollie has came in and truly looked after Paul, and because he knows him like from way back in the day, and the way that he's managed him has been absolutely beautiful to see, that how he's flourished, and his performances at the latter end of the season, last season after he came back from his injury, and this season have been great. I mean, he's got 7 assists so far in the season. Yes. And I mean, that's absolutely insane. And even in those games, he's not played at his best. I think the Leeds game he did.
I agree.
Yeah, the Leeds game he did, but the Newcastle game, I don't think he was at his 100% best. Mm-hmm. So there's more to come from Pogba this season, and I feel like that connection with Bruno, I've said it before, Pogba doesn't like to be the main man. Mm-hmm. And when he was brought into United, he was seen as that main man because he was the money man. He came in, big ego, big reputation, but he doesn't want to be that. He's more of a team player than your main man stand-up player, like Ronaldo is, like Bruno wants to be, like Bruno aspires to be. So him and Bruno's relationship is absolutely beautiful. I love it. I love how they copy each other's celebrations. I love their banter and just their partnership. They work so well, and they're really starting to get their cohesiveness between them. So I think keeping them both at the club is absolutely paramount. And I've said this for a while, I think Pogba will stay. I think
he will too.
Yeah, I think he's drawn to success, and rightly so.
He's in it for the journey to success.
Exactly. So I feel like I think he will sign, but I think maybe towards the middle of the season, towards the latter end of the season, I think he will sign the contract.
Yeah, well, it's certainly going to be interesting to see what happens with that. I'm sure it'll be an ever-evolving story as always. Well,
there's one way to sum up, though. There is one way to sum up, and I put this. This is on the 11th of September. I put that tweet up, right? Read one of those lines when it shows.
You can't see it. I don't see him leaving now. You don't get 7 assists in 4 games if you want to leave. And there, in a nutshell, is I think where we'll bring this fantastic episode of Devil's Advocate to a close. I have been Grant Campbell hosting tonight's show. You can find me at Stato_Grant on Twitter for all your statistical analysis and love of all things football. Rach, where can people find yourself?
You can catch me at Twitter at RateGMUFC7. I'm also on this channel quite a lot, mostly towards the NBA season as well on this channel. We also do a NBA podcast. Obviously, I'm repping my boys tonight. But there's obviously no season on at the minute, so there's nothing for us to talk about. So it's gone on the back burner a little bit. But when the season starts in October, we'll be picking up our NBA analysis and reviews and stuff. So get involved in that if you like basketball. If you don't like basketball and you want to learn about basketball, come along.
Fantastic. You've brought a really great series of class to proceedings tonight, Rachel. It's always great to have some female input. You've been absolutely first class. Wes, it's been great to have you on the show as well, mate. Where can people find your fantastic...
Thanks, mate. Yeah, you can find me on the Twitter here, United Wesley, WHF, but you can also find me on the Instagram, United Captured. And yeah, check me a follow and follow the content, daily content, all the news of Manchester United, posted updates, everything. You can find me over there.
Wes, a top guy, and really great to have you on the show tonight. Thanks very much for coming on, mate. Reese, my fellow Scot, it's been great to have you on as well, my good man. Where can people find your great self?
You can find me causing hell on Twitter, right there, Devil's Rising. You can also find me not eating bonbons, but you can find me eating Tang Fastics when I'm causing nightmares. You can actually find me very shortly. I'm going to be on Rich Sports News in the comment. I'm going to be previewing West Ham with him, so I'm actually on his show very shortly. You find me here, London Lowdown, tomorrow. So that's going to be a blast previewing Spurs versus Chelsea. All I'm going to say is if you're a Chelsea fan or a Spurs fan, I'll be sitting back watching that whilst I'm because there'll be you two clashing, whoever it's going to be. And that's pretty much it, really, apart from Twitch, Reese_Lightning 1997. But yeah, once again, the channel, cheers for having me on. You know, I always appreciate it. It's a good laugh. And when it's about United, we're number one. Your clubs suck. We move on.
And of course, you could follow all the relevant channels to find Devil's Advocate, Weekly Sports Talk on all social media. Remember to like this video, give us a subscribe, give us all a follow on social media. We'll be back next time to chat all things Manchester United once again. Hopefully we'll get the win over the mighty Hammers on Sunday. Come on, United. Let's get the win. Thanks very much to everybody tuning in tonight. Thanks for all your comments. And until next time, goodbye for now.
See ya.
Bye.